Alright fellas, here we are back at Pokemon Masters, and today we're going to be looking at Sygna suits Cyrus and Darkrai at 3 out of 5, 6-star EX. A little bit of a heads up, honestly all these battles, you can do the same thing that I did with Cyrus at 1 out of 5, probably without the EX. One battle may have made a slight difference, but really the only thing that I made full abuse of with Cyrus here at 3 out of 5 was probably Bad Break 1, Pinpoint Entry, and then these like Gauge Refresh abilities like Dark Void Move Gauge Refresh, as well as Fast Track 4 on Dark Void, and that was pretty much it really, I would say. He's also got a new grid, of course, Power Play. Grand Entry 2 is good for self-sufficiency. Sync Nodes, of course, existed. Good Nightmare on Dark Pulse for some damage. But really, I don't even think I ended up using Dark Pulse in this showcase at all, because the best and worst parts of Cyrus is that best part, Dark Void AOE spam sleep. It's like Lyra's Flinch, but it's a little bit worse for a couple different reasons, but it's still really good, right? AOE sleep is crazy. Same thing with, Serena, always really good there. Any sleep abuse character is just going to be batshit crazy. It's just true. Dark Zone, of course, was his big thing on release. It's not really a crazy thing now, because you also have like Akari, who is a better Dark Zone setter, and then there's like Neo Champion Kalum, who is a pretty decent setter as well. I think there's another one that I'm just somehow forgetting, and people are really going to flame my ass for it. Not the Umbreon egg, but I think there's another one. I could be wrong, though. I don't want to be wrong. Damn it. Oh well. But Dark Zone's still a really good ability for him, helping out other Dark allies. Turn and Move was decent for buffing accuracy, mostly for Dark Void. Dark Pulse was an okay source of damage, nothing crazy. And then the passive skills, he had Sync Snooze, setting an enemy, or putting an enemy to all enemies to sleep after using a Sync move, which gave you a pretty big incentive to use it, right? Other than like Support X or something, you could definitely use a Sync move if you're like, if you need to put the enemy to sleep but don't feel like using Dark Void. Not a bad idea. Bad Break 9, lowering one of a random stat of each enemy when you use a status move on them, I think. Pretty good ability for sure. And then Shared Nightmare damages all enemies when using a status move for the most part, I'm pretty sure is what it is. Category Dark Special, whatever. You're able to damage enemies when attacking them while asleep, or additional damage to enemies that are asleep, whatever. That type of stuff. But the best parts about him is AoE Sleep and Dark Zone. Pretty much it. Those are the best abilities you're going to do, and the debuffing can be decent as well for different characters, and we're going to showcase that. So yeah, other than that, I wouldn't say there was really anything too impactful we did for this showcase here. He does want some nodes, because he tries to do a lot, but can't do everything. He wants debuffs for his power play, he wants self-sufficiency and buffing stats at some point, he wants to set up Dark Zone, he wants to play enemies to sleep, he wants to do a lot, but he can't do everything. So that's probably the worst part about this character, but still not bad for sure, and we're gonna go ahead and showcase that. So let's hop into the battles. Alright, here's the first battle where we use Cyrus as an enabler for the Masked Royale to do some good damage, because we do have Lucian here, who is not a difficult enemy per se, but he does have Wise Entry, so using actual special dark attackers like what's her name, Karen, and Houndoom specifically, and some other dark special attackers is not going to work out too well for you. But thankfully we do not have a shortage of physical dark characters. Akari, Master Royale, Sydney, and Absol. There's another one that I'm thinking of that I can't really, I guess BP Karen, you can try that, but I wouldn't. Anyway, yeah, so this is pretty much just spamming Dark Void. We can use Dark Void spam here in order to debuff enemy stats quicker for the Master Royale, because he does want attack and speed debuffs for his multipliers. Do keep that in mind. Mostly just attack and speed, really, nothing else. But defense, of course, is always going to be universally helpful, and obviously the Master Royale is able to debuff the stats himself. So if you get anything, it can be relatively helpful, especially the evasion here as well. Very, very good for making sure your Dark Void land, because Dark Void does have 80% accuracy. You can mostly cover it with the accuracy buffs, but do consider evasion still going to be helpful in that regard. And also do note that sleep spam is enabling a lot of different things. It enables you to allow extra damage parameters, because the enemies pretty much can't move. So like attack plus 1.5 times, or whatever it's called, like 50% up damage is going to be useful for extra multipliers and points. Support's taking extra damage, strikers and techs taking extra damage. You can get free points from that, because again, you don't get hit for the most part, so that's good in that aspect. You can also choose the half ally HP parameter, as you saw here. You can get a lot of free points pretty much by making it so the enemies can't hit you. That's why AoE flinch and sleep and freeze spam is so impactful, or just even single target. It can be impactful if you know what you're doing, because it just makes it so the enemies can't move and you don't take damage and you stay alive. That's literally the best part of it, honestly. I don't show Cyrus's grid here because it's not really impactful, but the bad break one was a node I did have, so that was pretty much the only real impactful one, though. So yeah, there was Cyrus enabling the Master Royale and Incineroar. Let's move on to the next battle where we kind of brute force Lucian here with Marnie and Galarian Moltres. Alright, here we are for that showcase of Marnie's Brute Force. Triple Dark, because I wanted to activate Marnie's Master Passive. Figured I would go ahead and just throw in Pierce, because no one else was really going to do anything extra for the team. So I just figured, you got Brother and Sister, you got Double Galar, whatever, right? And also you can buff Cyrus's crit here, so if you do feel like using Dark Pulse, you can opt to. We activate Marnie's whatever the ability is called, her ability to get herself HP back and +3 special moves next. Going to be very, very helpful, so we're able to actually get that very, very juicy nuke in for her Buddy Fiery Wrath. We're going to go ahead and use Cyrus's nuke here. Not really many debuffs, but we do have Dark Zone activated, and of course this is a very great sync move. I love this sync move to bits. 10,000 damage there, which is actually quite good. Like, Crit Strike 2, a little bit of Power Play. That's pretty good as well, right? A little bit of Power Play, and obviously the innate for Dark Zone multiplier. 10,000 damage on a wise entry opponent. Definitely not too bad, for sure. The Lucian isn't really the like pinnacle of power, I guess, when it comes to these different Sinnoh stages, but still pretty impressive, I would say, for a first sync move with basically very minimal multiplier activation for the power play aspect and whatnot. Definitely very, very good for that overall damage. Not too bad anyway. But again, Cyrus's ability here is less focused on doing damage and nuking, but it's more so sleep spam, dark zone, and making sure you can actually land your sleep right, AOE right, to where you can get the accuracy buffs, all of that different stuff, so keep that in mind. And this was also a 1 out of 5 no EX Marnie, so she can do pretty good damage, especially with the wise entry. Cyrus obviously was her first real partner, and still not a bad partner. Maybe not the best partner for Dark Zone, but still pretty good, so yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the next battle, where it's, I think, Getsus and Cyrus for double debuffs and sleep spam. Alright, here we are with the double villain setup, I guess you could call it. This is not what I would call a clean sweep or a clean setup, but it is one that you can definitely do if you just want to. For some reason, Bertha's fucking tanky. I don't think I checked her stuff. She doesn't have extra, like, HP or whatever, but she does just have bulk. For some reason, or Getsus just doesn't do damage, which, I mean, that's fair. There's some cases where he doesn't, but this setup specifically with the sleep spam, mostly less for the sleep itself, but more so for the actual debuffs, because Getsus needs 3 different debuffs in order to actually do more damage. So I think that the chance of you actually landing one of those debuffs is decently high with Cyrus's bad break ability. I don't know how much we landed. Also, special defense debuffs, those would be pretty universally useful, right? We'll go ahead and use Getsus' nuke. This would have been better if we used Elisa's sync move here, but I thought like half of this stuff after the battle, like, you know, this could have been better if I did this. Also, Elisa good for buffing Cyrus's accuracy, so he doesn't have to use his trainer moves, despite the fact that I already did, but mostly that's because of gauge. Also, again, when it comes to mistakes that I made in this battle, not picking up move gauge refresh on Glaciate was one of them. Definitely should have done that. I did pick up all the like fast track gauge refresh stuff for Cyrus, but I didn't pick up the gauge refresh stuff for Kiram or Getsus here, so that was definitely one of the mistakes that I opted to make, so to speak. But really, it wasn't the worst thing in the world. Again, we do get some good debuffing in here, which was nice. This was mostly bad in the aspect that, like, we were down to trying to use Glaciate and Dark Void, and we didn't have enough gauge for both. That was the best, not the best part, but the biggest problem. We did end up missing, or they did end up missing, because we did debuff accuracy as well with Bad Break, which was useful. So you can find a lot of different uses for Cyrus's debuffs, whether it be missing moves with accuracy debuffs, lowering enemy evasion with evasion debuffs. Obviously, defense and special defense debuffs are going to be universally helpful. Debuffing attack and special attack for mitigation of damage. All these type of things can be relatively helpful, and obviously multiplier activation, decent there as well. I wouldn't say he's the most optimal ally to do it, but he definitely can, and he just helped enable the setup with Lisa to give Kiram crit buffs, give accuracy buffs to Cyrus, and debuff speed on the enemy for Kiram's nuke, so definitely not bad there. It worked out fine. It worked out fine, but there were better ways to do it. Again, move gauge refresh, Elisa sync, a little bit better there, but whatever. Let's move on to the final battle. I forget what we do here because my brain likes to fart every time I think of this. I think it's an Akari battle, though. Here's the final battle where we pretty much just do the same thing that we've been doing the whole time. I did want to do a double strike setup, but getting enough points is a bitch, so I just opted not to. Plus, trying to actually do damage with Cyrus outside of his nuke is pretty painful because you're spamming Dark Void, Dark Wish, all that stuff, and it really is just not the greatest thing to try and do. And also, best thing about Dark Void here is that you're able to kind of miss Qs on your first turn because you'll be able to put the enemies to sleep anyway, so it won't really matter as long as they don't use a trainer move turn 1, which they didn't, so hey, we got pretty lucky, which was nice. We just do a double Dark Zone setup here. We don't have to use Cyrus to set up Dark Zone because Akari does it for us for the most part, and we're able to just use him to spam sleep and kind of just sit there and have fun. If you really want to think anything of this battle, just call it a sleep spam battle. The first battle was mostly showing Dark Zone alongside the Master Royale. The second battle was empowering Galarian Moltres with Champion Marnie, and the third battle was pretty much debuff abuse alongside Getsus and whatnot. So if you want to say this battle is anything, it's sleep spam. Just they both happen to be dark type. I guess you could say that much. But we're able to set up that trainer move there with Akari so we can get a very high powered top performer Ceaseless Edge. The best thing about Akari is when you can actually extend the duration of her top performer Ceaseless Edge. That's the funnest part. If I didn't have the special damage down parameter selected and I had actually used any of Cyrus's trainer moves for crit buffs and whatnot, I could have potentially used his nuke here and it would have been a little bit better because, I mean, look at the debuffs. It's not like abysmal. It's -5, I think, plus whatever we already had. I guess that's something. Whatever. Either way, Akari works out just fine. No real problem with Akari here. And we're actually able to do quite well to finish this off with Dark Void, funnily enough, because of the Shared Nightmare ability where we're able to do extra damage to enemies because they opted to take damage because of our Shared Nightmare. So, yeah. We put the enemy to sleep with here with Dark Void. They try and make a move. Not really. They die. Yeah, pretty much how it goes. Also, I love how little damage they take. It's hilarious. It's absurd how minimal that damage is compared to like Doom Desire or the dance Revelation dances from New Year's Dawn. But oh well, I mean, it could have been a little bit better, but hey, maybe they'll give us a new and updated version when he gets a 5 out of 5 grid. I'm very interested to see how his 5 out of 5 grid is actually working, though. I will definitely I don't know. I'll probably get him to 5 out of 5 because he's just such a cool sync pair, and I'll do a showcase for him then. I have enough candies to do so, 100%. So if you're interested in that, let me know. But really just depends on what his actual tiles are. If they're just like more self-sufficiency or something, I probably won't do anything because what's the point? But if it gives him stuff that's actually viable, such as more debuffing, extended sleep would be absurdly useful, or like extra damage, easier to access stuff, such as maybe like extended Dark Zone or something, I think he could be very, very impactful that way because right now he kind of just wants to do too much. He wants the debuff, he wants the nuke, kind of wants the DPS, not really though. Dark Void, Dark Zone, all that stuff, he wants to do all of it. But he can't do all of it. That's the biggest problem. So if they can find a way to mitigate at least 1 or 2 of those problems, I think his Pokefair tiles could be looking really, really good. And I think he's still really good now. Even with just the sleep spam alone is already really good with the debuffing, I think anyway. And of course setting Dark Zone. Don't have to nuke, don't have to use DPS. The other 2 abilities are already quite solid, especially for a character of his relative age, especially if you look at like Lucas or someone. In my opinion, it's pretty good. But yeah, I'll see you all later. Hope you all enjoyed. Let me know what you think about Sygna, Cyrus, and Darkrai down in the comments below. And I'll see you all later.